Creepers left and right, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to stimulate it. Spiders in the mirror and things can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spirit drinkers, Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound, the clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around, 2,000 little fires. And ooh, your circle is spreading. Slowing things down when I wanted to race, catching up again when you try to chase. Feels like we're playing space. You always find a way.
Goodness, oh my goodness. Hello, friends. Hello. Come here, Kazi. What are you whining for? You want to come see the people? He'll never miss an opportunity to get on my lap. Hi, sweet boy. You're so sweet boy. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another vlog. This is a chaotic opening, but you get to see this sweet face. His good sweet face, huh? He's such a sweet boy. And yeah, we're starting another reading vlog, a weekly reading vlog, and we're gonna see how much we can get read. So I am starting this vlog on a Tuesday, a day late, $1 short, and blah blah blah, whatever, right? Anyway, I just wanted to come in and update you guys because it is Tuesday, and tonight I actually get to go to a book signing. I haven't been to a book signing in a long time. This is the Lyla Sage Liz Tom 40 book signing, which I am so excited about. I can't wait, and I'm just thrilled. Me and my son's girlfriend are going to go to that tonight, so I'm so excited. It's going to be such a fun night. I haven't been to a book signing in a really, really long time. So when I saw that, I love Liz Tom 40. I hadn't read Lyla Sage at the time I got these tickets. I since have read all of her books. I'm currently reading Lost and Lassoed right now. Right? Titles, man. Titles, they be hard. Yes, Lost and Lassoed is the book that I'm reading right now. I am 20% into it. I'm listening to the audio. It was part of the Libra FM audio influencer program, so I grabbed that. I do have a physical copy pre-ordered. So, I just got a text on my phone, sorry. I do have a physical copy that I pre-ordered, a signed copy that I'm going to be picking up tonight, so I'm very excited about that. So, let's talk about reading plans for the week. So, the physical book that I'm reading is Metal Slinger. I'm reading this on my Kindle, and I also have a physical copy, which I sometimes am reading. This is fantasy romance. I really, really, really am enjoying this. This was very easy to get into. The characters are fun. It does feel... You know, I feel like, for the most part, romantasy kind of does tend to read a little bit young. I feel like a younger age group is usually the main character's age. So this does read a little young, but it's not bothering me at all because I don't feel like it feels immature. I'm fine with reading about young characters. I feel like they're everywhere, you know. I say that like I'm a grandmother. But it's fun. So this is basically about our heroine was orphaned. She was adopted into this other society, and she's training to be like a warrior, essentially. And there are wartime conflicts between people, different groups of people. Something happens when they, as a people, go to this market that triggers what is going to be potentially a major war. And so our heroine is on the cusp of being engaged to this man who is higher up than she is and is going to potentially make her life safer and better. And so when all that happens, though, she sees this man at the market, and he has a dagger or a knife, and she feels like drawn to both of them, and she doesn't really know why. He kind of tracks her, follows her, and she ends up in an altercation with him and then escapes. And then later, he sneaks back into her people's town and demands to talk to her. And so there is a mystery involving her past and him that he's kind of trying to let her know about, but he can't because he's bound by an oath. And it's very interesting. I like the magic system in here. It's sort of loosely defined at this moment. He has powers and affinity with metal, and she does as well. And there are some other people in here who have powers, like, according to the earth that they touch and things like that. So it's fun. It's very fun. I like the story. I like the world. I like the characters. Overall, I'm just having a really good time with this one so far. Now, that's the physical book that I'm reading, so I hopefully will be able to update you at the end of this vlog with my feelings. I'm going to finish this week for sure. Hold on, let me put this back. The other book that I'm reading right now is obviously Lost and Lassoed. This is book 3 in the, I think it's the Rebel Blue Ranch series. And I've really enjoyed this series. They're all 4-star reads for me. They're not quite 5-star, but I think they're a really high 4-star. And even though they're all 4 stars, like, I continuously look forward to a new book from this author. I think of these books so fondly. I enjoy my time in them so much, but they're not quite a 5-star read for me, but they're still just so fun, and I just love them. So this book is about Gus and our heroine, who is the heroine from the first book's her best friend, Teddy. And they are kind of in a little enemies to lovers situation, but it appears that something has happened in their past. Like, they probably had some steamy one night together or something like that. And this whole book, like, I love the family in here. I love the setting. I just find cowboy romances, even the ones that are darker or heavier, to be so comforting and cozy, and I just love them. So I really like that they're kind of enemies to lovers. I like the setup that it looks like they're going to be working together. Like, she just lost her job, so he's a single dad. She's probably going to step in and do maybe some nannying or something like that. And I'm very excited to see these two soften towards one another and to learn more about their backstory. So I'm really liking it so far. So that is the update for now, introduction to this vlog. As for what I'm going to read next, I'm not quite sure. I'm definitely going to just let my mood dictate and see what sounds good, because I did have a bit of a reading slump in October, and I want to keep it at bay as far as possible. Obviously, I am reading other things, like I am still reading Empire of the Damned, but I probably won't include that in this vlog. Maybe I will, we'll see. So I'm listening to that just a little bit at a time. And then I'm also currently reading, let's see, I can never remember the title of this book. I don't know why my brain is like this, but let's see if we can find it. I'm going to be able to find it. I'm just in my Kindle app. Class Apart. So I'm also physically reading that, but I probably, I don't know if I'm going to vlog about that or not. I may vlog about that. We'll see. We will see. I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. Who knows? I definitely feel like I'm in a contemporary romance mood, so I might continue with that. Anyway, I hope to get some footage tonight at the signing. We'll see how crowded and busy it is and how comfortable I feel getting my camera out, but I will hopefully have at least a little bit. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for being here.
We're good. I figured it out. College-educated woman. Well, this is a lot of people. I got out here and I just kind of started crying a little bit. It's really great to have your books be loved in lots of places, but there's something really special about this many of you showing up at home. So, thank you.
I'll give you a break. We'll jump into some questions. Okay, I have a few questions that we're going to talk about, and then
The story really heavy, and so I didn't quite know where the story's part was. And so I turned to the first draft, and I was like, man, it exists. And you know, that's all a first draft has to do to be perfect, by the way. exist. At least that's what we all tell ourselves. Because they're bad. But I didn't know where the story's heart was, and very unfortunately, during the editing process of Lost and Lassoed, my dad went to the hospital, and it was a very scary situation. He was there for a very long time. I was on vacation when he went to the hospital, and my mom told me that I had to come home, and she was like, unfortunately, the story has a happy ending. Don't worry, I'll bring it back up. But like, she was like, we need to be prepared for this. And so I came back home. I went to the hospital, and my dad was like a ray. Like, he was just, I had no idea who was laying in his hospital bed. And so every edit that I made for Lost and Lassoed last December, including like on Christmas Day, was just like sitting in that same room with him. And all I wanted was like for my dad to be okay. Like, I felt so bad for my brothers. I felt awful for my mom, because my parents are the reason that I believe in love stories. They're the reason that I write them. And so I was just like feeling all of these feelings, and I had already written, there's a scene in Lost and Lassoed where Teddy's dad goes to the hospital, and I told my mom on Christmas Day last year, I was like, my brothers had left, it was just me and them in the hospital room, and I was like, I think I manifested this, like, this is all my fault. And I just started sobbing, and both my parents started laughing, and they were like, shut up. Like, you're fine, you're being kind and dramatic about this. I was like, surprise. But so that, like, all of a sudden, I don't really know how it happened. Like, Lost and Lassoed from first draft to second draft was so different.
Yeah, and so you kind of you said that you always write stuff that's like pretty intentional, but at the same time, I was reading Caught Up, my son was the same age as Max, and he also went through a speech delay, so I just wanted to say thank you for that, because I felt so lonely going through that.
I'm
so,
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I thank you for first of all saying
Yeah,
that
no,
to me.
he's so much better now, but like, I just, sorry, I don't want to cry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cry here. This is a safe
A lot of
place.
those delays were written off my niece around the same age, and what my brother was feeling, and that kind of stuff too. So yeah, you're definitely not alone.
Like, oh my gosh.
Thank you for telling me.
That was really sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did already. I answered a little bit, so this is going right back to you. But Stevie and Miller were my two for sure. One, obviously, like body image, and the second one was career fatigue, but also career pressure for sure.
I think there's a lot of kind of me and Emmy with like this like very deep innate need for control, and also this innate need to make other people happy. And I have not overcome that in any way, shape, or I'll unpack that in therapy later this week. But I think all of my female main characters, because you know women are so dynamic and lovely and wonderful, kind of all have started to embody things like Ada, like I'm worried about my perception or whatever, and Teddy sometimes just really feels lost, and I do all the time, and I'm an insecure girl. I gotta work on that, but I haven't overcome anything, but it is nice to write women who go through the same things that I do.
Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Do you see what's behind me? My Christmas tree. If you've been here for years past, is this clip giving you flashbacks to past Vlogmas? I feel like I would often or always start the vlog or continue the vlog sitting right here. This is my kitchen counter, and my tree would be right there, and that's deliberate. Like, I would sit here on purpose because it was just so cozy and festive to have my tea of the day for an advent calendar, which I'm trying to decide if I want to do. I think I do. I think I want to do Vlogmas again, but not post every day, because the posting every day is so freaking hard. But I don't know. I also just love Vlogmas. It's so fun, but it is pretty time consuming. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I will probably be vlogging every day, but again, like not posting every day, you know. So anyway, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the vlog. Last night was the Lyla Sage signing, the Lyla Sage Liz Tom 40. I did get some footage, and hopefully you can hear what they were talking about, because I tried to get clips of the actual discussion between Lyla Sage and Liz Tom 40. because they said that we could take pictures and video and everything, and so I was like, awesome. So I tried to balance like being there in the moment with getting content, and it was fun. So, although I will say this was such a bigger signing than I thought it would be. I thought it was, I've been to book signings before, but it's been a very long time, and I've never been to a romance specific book signing. Specifically, I've never been to one since 2020 and the giant boom of romance books where everybody is reading them. So they said they had sold 600 tickets to this event. The whole theater was so completely packed. Me and my sweet son's girlfriend, her name is Caitlin. Caitlin, if you're watching this, I had so much fun. Thank you for coming with me. We got there a little bit after the doors opened. So the event started at 7, the doors opened at 6, and when we pulled up to the school, it was at a private school is where it was being hosted. The line outside to even get in was blocks long. And this was in the middle of Salt Lake City, right? I was shook. So as soon as we saw that, we had to try and find a place to park in Salt Lake City with my big truck, which we ended up walking a little bit, not too far. They said we could park at a grocery store nearby, so that's where I went to park, because I'm like, I'm not messing around with parking this truck in the city. That's going to be a nightmare. We went there, parked the truck, and by the time we made it back to the school, it was a little after 6. I think it was like 6:15, and the doors were open, so that big, huge, long line was gone, and everybody was inside. Mostly people were inside at the booth, waiting for to buy books and to buy merch to have signed, and because like the cost of getting in was not much more than this. Like it was, you had to buy a book with your ticket, and then it was like a little bit more. I think it was like, the price of this book is $18, and I think my ticket was like $21, so that's basically the same thing, So I didn't wait in line to buy the books, because also I brought my Liz Tom 40 books that are my favorites, so Mile High and The Right Move. But I didn't bring those initially. We had to, Caitlin and I had to come back to the house and pick them up, because I wasn't sure how many you could bring in. They didn't really have anything on the site that I saw that you could bring in. Anyway, so I had my books that I wanted signed by Liz, and I knew I was getting a signed copy of this, so I didn't wait in line, and I wasn't really interested in merch, but I was kind of worried that we wouldn't get a spot to sit, and so Caitlin didn't really want to wait in line either. So we went into the theater, sat down, and waited. The event started at 7, and this is the merch that we bought. We each got one of these cute sweatshirts. And it's like such nice quality. It's super oversized. This is an extra large, which I like my sweatshirts to be oversized, but this is like, this I feel like is probably like a 2XL in real life. It's made by Rebel and Floor. I have a lot of their t-shirts. I love their oversized t-shirts. They do a lot of bookish merch stuff. They're so great. Anyway, so I didn't buy that at the first though. So we wait in there, we're waiting for the discussion to happen, which is always my favorite part of a book signing. I love hearing authors talk about their process. I love hearing them talk about writing. It's why I love like interviewing authors and talking to authors online. Like I love to hear about the process. I love to hear about the writing. And so that was fun. We had a really good, we got to hear mostly from Lyla. I was hoping to hear more from Liz, to be honest, because while I do enjoy Lyla's books, like I love Liz Tom 40's books. And because it was Lyla's debut, of course, she was going to be the focus. So that was good. But yeah, we didn't get to hear quite enough from Liz, which I thought was kind of disappointing for me personally. So they talked for about an hour, and then it was time to get in line to sign your books. And the way that they had people exit the theater was like complete chaos. Like I remember years and years ago going to a signing where Veronica Roth was there with Divergent, and there was nowhere near this many people, right? It wasn't Divergent she was signing. I think it was the middle one, because Allegiant hadn't come. It was whatever the middle one is. This was obviously a long time ago, right? And at that signing, which was probably the biggest author that I had seen, like the most famous, they had every row, and it was put on by the same bookshop. They had every row like dismissed a little at a time. This one, it was just sort of like, everybody go, And there was like no decorum, there was no like courtesy. Everyone was just sort of like running to get in line, and I was just sort of like, oh my gosh. And so 600 people, right, were getting in line, and so me and Caitlin somehow ended up like at this corner of the theater, which was towards the beginning, but because everybody else like rushed out, our section ended up getting out last, so we were almost last in line to get our book signed. And at this point, it was like 8:30. We wait in line for an hour. It's like 9 o'clock by the time, and our line has not moved hardly at all. And I'm starting to feel unwell. Like, I'm starting to feel like my pain is building and building, and I'm like, I want to just go home so bad. But I also didn't want Caitlin to miss out on this opportunity because she really likes Liz Tomforty and I invited her, you know. So I asked Caitlin, I said, I am okay with leaving if you want to leave, if you don't want to get our book signed, because, you know, we could be here another 2 hours plus 45-minute drive home, plus it had started to snow. I said, but I'm also more than okay to stay and wait, you know, like, and I think I was kind of in this position where I was like, I didn't want Caitlin to feel like she had to stay for me to get my book signed, but I also didn't want her to feel like she had to leave because I didn't want to stay to get the book signed, you know, so I was trying to be like, I'm really good with whatever, and she was so sweet because she's like, I'm good with whatever too. And then we talked about it some more. We saw that where we thought the line turned and went to get signing, like, it actually looped around again, like it was astronomically long. And so then we decided, we'll just go, we'll just get some merch and go. So we got matching sweatshirts, we got some merch, and we just left. So I didn't get to actually meet Liz or Lyla, but that's okay because I don't really personally feel like I have to meet authors. It's not, you know, I say that, but if I had the chance to meet Laini Taylor, I would want to meet Laini Taylor. I would want to meet Brandon Sanderson. And while I do love Liz Tomforty's books, her books are fun and so enjoyable, but there's something about other authors that like really deeply mean something. Like Kennedy Ryan, if I had a chance to meet Kennedy Ryan, I would wait hours to meet her, you know? So yeah, we were okay. I was okay with leaving, especially considering that the line hadn't even moved. It was getting so late. I knew we had a long drive ahead of us to get back home, and I was just sort of like, it's okay. We've at least got, and like I said, like my favorite part was hearing them talk about their books, their writing process, and that was what I wanted to go for mostly. So having a signed book, which, you know, you can usually get from author's website too, so the whole point of the signing is to meet the author, and that just wasn't a super high priority for me. With these authors, even though I love their stories, and even though I love Liz Tomforty's books, like The Right Move is one of my favorite romances ever, I still just sort of felt like, I'm okay with leaving. You know, I want my bed, I want my husband, I want to go home, you know. So we left, and it was really, really fun. I say that it was really, really fun because it was, but I also have decided for sure, you know, I am not this level of a book signing girly at all. At all. This is 100% not my bag. I don't like that much crowd. I don't like waiting in line for that long. Like, it's just not for me. And, you know, I see so many of my fellow booktubers and people in the book community and friends go to these signings, and I always kind of feel a little bit of FOMO because I'm like, oh, that looks so fun. But what looks fun is hanging out together with other people, with your friends, and waiting in line and meeting the authors. Like, that's not the appealing part to me, you know? That's just not, and it never will be. So the fun that I had last night was with Caitlin and talking about books and getting to hear the authors talk about their writing, and I didn't necessarily have to meet them. So I did get a few pictures of Liz and Lyla just as I walked past on our way out, but I didn't get to meet them. I chose not to meet them, and I was okay with that. So I'm sorry if this is disappointing to anybody. Like, I don't know. I'm not disappointed, but I do feel like, I guess because it's like socially accepted, you go, you wait in line, you meet the author, you get a picture. And they even said like the way they were taking pictures was going to be different. And so I was just sort of like, well, if I still have to wait so long and I don't even know if I'm going to get a picture, I'm okay with leaving, you know? So That's what happens when you're an antisocial bookworm. And yeah, I had a great time with Caitlin. We had a ton of fun. And the book signing itself was fun, and it wasn't mismanaged. It was just there were so many people that had to get through. I do wish they had a more organized way to have people exit the theater so that the signing would be a little bit more like first come, first serve, you know, because inevitably the people who had the best seats were the last people to get in the signing, but they were also the people who got to the signing first and were able to pick out their seats first, you know. So anyway, it's just one of those things that, like, it was fun. I'm glad I went, but it very much solidified for me that I'm not a book signing girly unless it is like a very small venue. But truly, I didn't have any idea how big this was going to be. I should have realized, but I didn't. So anyway, I did not get my Liz Tom Ford book signed, but I did get this one signed, which I guess I'll show you the signature, huh? And I am still reading this book. I haven't really made any more progress. I'm still reading it. I'm about 30% of the way through, and I'm just enjoying it a lot. I love her romances. I think they're very, very fun, and I'm thrilled for all the success she's had because listening to both of them, it was like these are such good women, like great women, and I'm so happy and thrilled for their success, and I love that for them. I love seeing romance authors be so successful like that. Like, also another thing about how many people were there is that, you know, there were 600 people there, and I'm not like a huge name in the book community by any deal. Like, I'm a pretty small booktuber in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm a very small book talker compared to what other people have out there. But I didn't see anybody that I recognized from the book community. So I thought that was cool in a way, just because there are 600 romance book lovers of these books in this room, and I didn't recognize any of them, which means that they are probably not a hugely online book person. You know, like, I'm deeply into the online book community, and you are too if you're watching this. So that was really cool, because then it's like all of these people love these books and they're here, but then I got thinking about how many people actually love and enjoy these books and don't even go to the signings, you know? So that was cool. It was fun. I really had a good time, and I love seeing a bunch of romance readers in there, just excited about the books and the characters and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the signing. That's the recap of the signing. I got some footage. I haven't looked at it yet closely. I looked at what I posted on Instagram and my Instagram stories, but I'll try to include whatever is good. Some of it is just them speaking, so hopefully you can hear what I got. Yeah, so it's Wednesday. It's time to work and read more of these books. So I'm excited. I'm excited to work today and listen to this audiobook. Very excited about that. And I'm going to be making a bunch of ponies today, and I got a horse sweatshirt on, so that's exciting. Anyway, thanks, my friends. I also treated myself to 2 McDonald's Diet Cokes already today because it was a late start. I took my son to school, and then I was like, of course I need a McDonald's Diet Coke. Who doesn't, huh? All right, my friends. I'll see you soon when I have more to update you on. Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the vlog. I just took my hair out of braids. I don't use like heat tools when I style my hair, so I either use let me scoot over so I can put the book picture in. So I either use a heatless curler set overnight, and then when I'm tired of sleeping on that, then I like braid it to get these waves. These don't look very wavy today, but anyway, that's all right. So, welcome back. I did finish Lost and Lassoed. It took me a surprisingly long time, and I feel like that's mostly just because I wasn't hooked. I wasn't necessarily hooked with this book. I could put it down and be fine. I could pick it up and enjoy it, but there was nothing necessarily about that book that was compelling me to read it. And this is the first time that I've felt like this about a Lyla Sage book. The other 2 books, I just like binged them so quickly. And I think this has more to do with what I'm wanting in a book at the moment, or than it is having to do with Lyla Sage's writing. Or it could just be, like I've talked about a lot. I don't remember if I've talked about it here, or if I talked about it with my patrons in some Patreon exclusive videos. But anytime I feel like anxiety building up, or stress, or if I'm feeling basically any type of negative emotion and my thoughts are kind of spiraling and I can't get out of that loop. It is so hard for me to focus on books. And if you've been here for a while, you may have noticed that in the past with some of my content where I kind of have a hard time focusing on books. Like my mind wanders and I don't know how to stop that, and I hate that. I hate that so much, because if you've experienced that and you have like racing thoughts or thoughts that are hard to control, you know how desperately you crave an escape from your mind and you just can't seem to find it, right? So anyway, thanks for listening to that little therapy session or whatever. But I will say that something that I have noticed with Lyla Sage books, including this one, is that they're very cozy and they're very comforting. She builds the family so well. And whether it's the established family themselves, because we do have like the brothers and the sister and their romances in here, or whether it's the found family that comes from being in a small town. Like that's one of the draws of a small town romance, I feel like. It's the found family element, the way that everyone feels so close and tight knit. Like I love that. I love that so much. But so I think that she does that really, really well. She also has a really good grasp on her characters. She builds them very realistically, very believably. They feel real. They feel very engaging. I feel a lot of empathy for them when they're going through sadness or turmoil. I feel that same thing as well. And like kind of a major plot point in this book is Teddy and her dad, who in the previous two books we've seen Teddy, she's our heroine. She is Emmy's best friend from the first book, and she's had a very tumultuous hate to love or enemies type of relationship with Emmy's brother, Gus. But throughout the whole series, Teddy has been living with her father and taking care of him because his health is very poor, and she not only is she taking care of him, but she's also so close to him. So we get to find out a little bit more of what happened to her mother, and it really does a great job of establishing how much her dad means to her. And so there is a pivotal moment in this book when her dad is seriously ill, and he doesn't die, just so you know. Like, if you need that assurance to read this book, and if you consider that a spoiler, I don't really apologize, because I would want to know that going into a book, you know. But there are some heavy moments as she's worried about him and as she's thinking about what her life would be like without him. And that combined with like the whole theme that Teddy has in this book is she doesn't know what she's doing in her life. You know, she feels like everybody is moving on without her. Like, her best friend is now in a serious relationship. They don't have time to do the things that they used to do. She doesn't feel like she's a priority in her friend's life anymore because now her boyfriend is taking center stage there, right? And that's like the natural course of life. I feel like we may all have experienced that at some point in our lives when we've had a best friend or we've had close friends and they're moving ahead and we're maybe not. At some point, maybe some of us, a lot of us have probably felt that, right? And that can be a very, very painful transition. And that can be a painful spot where you really start to question your worth. So Teddy was beautifully done as a character. And I really liked seeing that about her. And I guess liked isn't the right word, but it felt very real and very relatable. It made her a very, very easy character to root for and want to have good things happen for her. That combined with just her personality, which is so fun, and she's a little sassy and she's funny and she's just a sweetheart, you know, like she's an excellent heroine. Like, I loved her a lot. And then another thing about her that happens is she really has built up this job that she's doing that isn't necessarily a dream job, but it's using her creative talents in a way that she really enjoys, and she feels like almost a sense of identity with that job. So she ends up losing that, and that's what causes her to go and sort of nanny with Gus and his daughter. But in the course of her losing that job, that career, that thing that she defined herself as, and then also with her friend moving on with her life, you know, Teddy feels very left behind in this book. And I think that no matter who you are, if you haven't gone through that exact circumstance, you have felt like that at some point, right? If you've been watching my vlogs, especially if you're a patron, because I feel like I talk about this a lot with my patrons, you will know that I feel like that lately. I very much feel like that. My children are growing up and they're leaving home, right? And I feel like A lot of times that's something that is kind of joked about, empty nesters or whatever. I still have one at home. But when you devote your whole life to something, whether it's a job, whether it's family or whatever, or when you put your sense of identity in something that you do, or in something that you think that you are, or that you are, and then that shifts, that changes, and the people that were there with you the whole time are moving on, that's a really hard place to be, right? So for that element alone in this book, I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved seeing Teddy's journey, you know? Gus is also, something else I really like about this series is the development of the heroes. They're fully fleshed out characters, and while they are all such good men, like they are such great heroes, they're not the type of hero that feels like 100% wish fulfillment, you know? Like, obviously I feel like most of the time when we're reading romance, we go into that with, we want a certain sort of wish fulfillment to be in there, some type of fantasy. We want to read about this perfect romance, this perfect couple, this perfect hero, right? But I also feel like that desire has kind of been very prominent in a lot of romances recently that aren't dark romances, and so I feel like we're not getting a lot of depth of character to these heroes beyond the fact that they maybe have a kid, or they have this job, or they've got some things they're struggling with, but when it comes to how they treat the heroine, they are perfect. They're 100% perfect. And I'm not going to say that we shouldn't want perfect men in romance novels, but I will say that I find a more compelling read when he's not quite perfect, you know? When he doesn't always do the right thing. I think that in general, characters like that are more interesting. They're just more interesting. They're more fun to read. They're more easy to be able to relate to, because how many of us can relate to a perfect character? I feel like a lot of the times when we relate to characters, it's because we see a flaw that they have that we also share, or that we have seen in ourselves at some point, right? And that's another reason why I feel like romance books can be so powerful, is because you can see yourself in certain elements of them. And that's something that I really love about romances, and why I'm such a big proponent of third act breakups are not a bad thing. Miscommunication is not a bad thing. We should be reading, maybe not should, I enjoy reading about people who love each other, but they have problems in their relationship. Maybe not necessarily not big, huge problems, not always, but I feel like there's so much catharsis in reading about a couple who loves each other, but they still kind of mess things up, right? And there has to be some forgiveness there on some party, right? Like, one of my favorite books deals with that very prominently, and it's A Heart in the Highlands, and that's a pretty major mistake he makes that he then has to try and repair and see if they can come to terms with their relationship. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process. And I just sort of feel like, books that have romances specifically, that have characters that have minute flaws that otherwise are perfect, I think it's hard for me to love them with my whole heart. Because the things that makes me love books are seeing the flaws. And I've said it before, and everybody I feel like disagrees with me, is I want to see the pain. Not like heartbreaking, cry your eyes out type of pain, but I want to feel a pain or an ache and still have that happily ever after. Because that's the guarantee, is the happily ever after will be there. But let's experience some of the things that humans actually feel and experience in fiction, but maybe just not as heartbreakingly painful as reality can be, you know? Anyway, I didn't mean to talk for so long about that, but that's something that I've been thinking about. So I finished this book yesterday. I didn't vlog yesterday because I finished it, and then I had reading sprints with my patrons, and then I had dinner, and the family came home, and I just didn't have a chance to vlog. But now it's the next day, and I've had some time to think about this book, and Lyla Sage books in general. Especially because I went to that signing, and 600 people, most of them came for Lyla Sage. And these are people who are not just a 4-star lover of her books, right? Like, kind of like I am. Like, her books are solid 4 stars. Lost and Lassoed is 4 stars for me. A strong 4-star, you know, like close to a 5-star, but there's something that keeps it from being a 5-star read for me, and I'm going to get to that. I've kind of alluded to it. But her books really resonate with people. They are looking for exactly what she's giving them. The found family, the cozy, the small the small, tiny flaws that are kind of easily overcome, right? And maybe it's the fantasy reader in me that wants there to be bigger things for them to overcome, that wants to see a little bit more struggle, because those are the books that are meaningful for me, right? But again, like, not always. I don't always want that. The Willow Aster series I talk about, beautifully sweet, low angst, cozy, comforting. That's how I feel about the Lyla Sage books too. So I feel like clearly there's a demand for this type of book, but I would really like to see a little bit more complicated, flawed, specifically heroes, who get things wrong sometimes. And they're not always the perfect man, the man written by a woman, you know? In the end, they are, but maybe not how they respond the whole way, you know? Anyway, all of that being said, I very much enjoyed this book. It was very much a solid 4-star read. Enjoyable from beginning to last page, pretty much. But when I finished it, I did have this feeling of, not disappointment, but sort of like, the romance specifically just didn't move me a whole lot. It's not to say it wasn't lovely and sweet and romantic, because it was. It didn't move me because it felt too easy. The falling in love felt too easy. The staying in love felt too easy. And there's a place for that. There's a reader for that. There's a market for that. But right now, I want something more, you know? Anyway, still very much enjoy it. Love the whole series. Highly recommend them. They're very popular. They're popular for good reason. It was a great read. It really was. Well, I feel like I can't say great when I also have like caveats. It was a very solid romance. If you like cowboy romances, you've probably read these. But yeah, this one is actually probably my favorite of the three. The first one I really loved. The second one is my least favorite, and this one is probably my new favorite. So, anyways, now I gotta finish this vlog today. So, because I want to finish this vlog today, so I can get it edited and get it up for patrons and to not be behind, because I feel like, I know I say it a lot, I am perpetually behind in life, and I was doing good. I was doing really good with Patreon stuff, and then this last few weeks I've been falling a little bit behind. So I decided to try and find a book that I could read in a day, listen to the audio in a day, also with a book that I wanted to read, because there are a lot of shorter books that I was considering, like some fantasy novellas, or you know, basically I was looking at fantasy novellas. I was looking at books that were longer that I was interested in, because I kind of honestly felt like I wanted like an alien or a monster romance. I did feel like that. But then I just decided that I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time if I want to be able to finish this vlog today. I didn't have enough time to include a book that's 12 or 13 hours on audio. So the book I decided to go with is one that I've been wanting to read all year, ever since it came out, and it is Savor It by Tara DeWitt. I really enjoy Tara DeWitt's books. I think I've only read one of hers, but it was Funny Feelings. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was a very fun, just a beautiful romance. I really enjoyed that one a lot. I think I gave it 5 stars. And this is her. I know she has a new book coming out. Either it just came out or it's coming out soon, like in the next week or so. But Funny Feelings, no, not Funny Feelings, Savor It. Savor It is the book that came out earlier this year that I never got around to reading. So now is the time. Now is the time to read it. So I'm only on chapter 3, so I'm 10% in so far. And so far, all that I know about this is our heroine is, she seems like a very likable, very enjoyable heroine. I really like her. She has a job. It opens with us at her job, with a friend. They have a little funny interaction with a phallic-looking part of the building. And then she goes home to her place where she has a horse, a Clydesdale horse. She has an Irish wolfhound. She has like chickens and maybe ducks, I believe. She's got a lot of animals that it sounds like she rescues. And then we have our hero, who I believe is like a Michelin star rated chef, but he lost the star. He lost his job. his sister was in an accident and died, and he is now the guardian of her teenage daughter. And he is coming to the town where our heroine lives to open up and start a restaurant and try to get his professional standing higher. So they haven't met yet at this point in the book, but I am already very invested in the characters, in the setup, in the writing. I love Tara DeWitt's writing. She is just fantastic. I think she has such a good use of wit and humor and levity blended with a lot of really heartfelt kind of deeper moments that I really like. So I am very excited about this one. I'm going to be listening to this for the rest of the day, and then I will come back and update y'all when I've finished it. So you'll see me one more time. You'll see me one more time, and I'll come back with a review of Savor It. So anyway, I hope y'all are having a good day whenever you're watching this, and I will see y'all soon. Hello, my friends. I don't have a reading update for you, but I did go get my hair cut. I just got a trim. Look at those fresh ends. Look at that. And a blowout, of course. Look how straight. Look how sleek. I don't know. I'm definitely more of a... We've talked about my hair a lot in this video. I'm definitely more of a curly, wavy type of girl, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Anyway, I'm here because I have some book mail that I have been very, very excited about, and it is from the Ripped Bodice. This is the first thing that I have ordered ever from the Ripped Bodice, and I am very, very excited. I haven't looked at it. I did cut the package open. Came in this cute little pink mailer. And this is a book that I pre-ordered, which hopefully, oh, it does, I'm so happy. I just peeked. Okay, this is my pre-order for A Hunger Like No Other. It is signed by the author, and I don't remember if oh, it's personalized too. I love A Hunger Like No Other. Kresley Cole is amazing. This is one of my favorite paranormal romances. And while I do miss the old cover, I mean, I have a copy of the old cover. I have an OG, the original cover in a mass market, and I also have the original cover in a hardcover, and then I also have the new mass market cover. So I have this book a lot. I really love it. It is old school paranormal romance at its best. And I pre-ordered this because it came with an art print if you were one of within so many. And I really wanted the art print too, and I'm just so excited. Okay, so here is the book. Look at how beautiful. I love it so freaking much. Look. This is a really pretty embossed lettering on the front. It did have a little bit of a crimp in the page, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not like upset about that because it's just sort of, you run that risk when you ship stuff, you know? I fully understand that. Okay, and then... Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, look! For Crystal? Kresley Cole signed a book for me for Crystal? I'm so... And look, there's a smiley face. This is my prized possession. I love this. I'm so excited about this. Truly, so freaking excited. There's a quote on the back from Sarah McLean and Jen Prokop, who are the hosts of the Fated Mates. You know who Sarah McLean if you're watching me, right? But it says, Kresley Cole is the unrivaled queen of romantasy. A hunger like no other is full of spice and big, bold feelings. That's truth. That's truth right there. I love that book so much. And it also came with this bookmark. Look it. Very cool. Ripped Bodice Romantic Bookstore. I've never bought anything from them before. How amazing is that? And then, my friends, I did get an art print. I am so thrilled. Look. I love it so freaking much. I love it. There you go, the camera. Oh, Lachlan and Emma. I'm just so freaking excited about this. I love that. That is such a beautiful print. I don't know who the artist is. I'll have to find out because it's just freaking stunning. I love that art style. Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with it. Now, I want to reread this right now. Right freaking now, I want to reread this. Maybe I will. No. I'm gonna finish Savor It for sure. But then I'm gonna read this. I'm thrilled, I'm happy. I'm just thrilled. So, all right, that's all. I'll be back when I finish Savor It. Hello, my friends. Hello, welcome back to the final clip in this vlog. I'm experimenting with some different lighting. I don't know if I like it or not. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, hello. Sorry, have to do the very professional thing of adjusting my seat on camera, right? So, I finished Savor It by Tara DeWitt. Now I have to scoot over because it looks like those things are in my way. Oh my gosh. It's as good as it's gonna get. So I finished Savor It by Tara DeWitt, and I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I feel like there are very few things to criticize this book about. This book is very, very solid. I just really, oh my gosh, Crystal, editing Crystal, I apologize, and viewers of Crystal's Bookish Life, I apologize, but I had to move. Picture's gonna go over here now for Savor It. I feel like there is very little to criticize this book about. It's very clean. The prose is beautiful, it's succinct, it's humorous, it's sharp, it's witty, it's all the things that I like in solid, readable prose. It's not beautiful, but it's technically very proficient, and it does really show the author's voice and her character's voice really well in this, which I think is always something that you want in contemporary romance, especially when it's in first person. It gets you into their points of view really easily, so I think that's really well done. That's never been a problem with this author. Her prose is excellent, you know. And as far as the story goes, the story is compelling. It's complicated. It's layered. It's got different areas where we have nuance in their individual lives and their lives as a couple. You know, the basic premise. I've only edited the first clip in this video, so I'm not sure what I said about this book so far. But the basic premise is just that, you know, she has gotten out of a bad relationship, and she's feeling a little bit hurt. She wants to compete in this town, basically like a competition, and so she needs someone who's going to compete in her with that. She has her next door neighbor move in, who is our hero, and he has just lost his sister. He was a chef, he lost his Michelin 1-star rating, and he's really down on his luck, and he has sort of adopted or fostered or raising his sister's teenage daughter. So he comes with a ton of baggage, right? He's got a lot of internal stuff he's working on, and one of the main things that he is working on is sort of this career burnout, where he's not passionate about his career, but he wants to get back there. He wants to get his Michelin star back, so the reason he comes is to open a restaurant, to consult on it, and to kind of get it off of the ground, to hopefully get back into the good graces in the chef community. So that, I think, is really compelling. I do like our heroine. I think that she, you know, she's quirky, but not too quirky, I don't think. I like how she adopts and collects animals. I think that she has a really good heart. She's funny. You know, like, she's a solid heroine. I really like her. And the side characters are great. The small town setting is great. Like I said, the plot is interesting. So then that leads me to the point of, I didn't entirely love this book, even though it is technically very well done, and a lot of people do love it. To me, it felt lacking in an area, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to try and talk about this with a little bit, as much nuance as I possibly can. So, you know, I'm not saying it was completely one way or the other at all, but this is a book that I think really falls into the same trap that Lost and Lassoed did for me, where it's in this gray area of contemporary romance that is lacking nuance in a lot of areas with the romance, specifically, both in how it's developing or any type of conflict, the third act conflict, right? So I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I did really enjoy it, but I honestly found a lot of this book to be a little boring. Because even though you're dealing with things like the complicated relationship with our hero and his adopted daughter, his niece, that's very complicated, and, you know, when the heroine gets involved, there is a lot of complexity there, and things don't go smoothly all the way, right? Obviously, I forgot to mention this about the plot. Because her ex has come back into town, they kind of enter into this fake relationship, the hero and heroine, so that she can kind of be like, well, look who I'm with now, you know? And then they also recognize they've got an attraction, and so they start a basically friends with benefits, no strings attached, he's gonna leave, it can't be love type of thing, right? We've seen it before, it's nothing new, and it doesn't have to be new, right? But I do feel like that area specifically was really lacking in complexity for me. It was lacking in stakes. Because the third act conflict, when you feel like... Okay, so first of all, there has to be, for me, my opinion only, right? These are all my opinions. I'm not speaking about gospel truths here for romance books, but in my opinion, because we know romances do have a happily ever after, there has to be something significant that makes you wonder, are they actually going to get together? Not in all romance books, right? But there has to be something that makes you wonder or question or fear. The stakes have to feel high. Are they actually going to end up together? That's how I feel like. My favorite romances, the ones that, like, I think about over and over and over again, there's some level of I don't want to say angst, because I feel like that gives a certain perception of what I'm looking for. There has to be some type of conflict in there that makes you feel like maybe they won't get together. And because it is romance, you know they will. So it doesn't feel as devastating as a book that's not a romance, and you're not guaranteed that, right? And that's the thing that I think needs to have some more attention to it, because this hero has his own complexity. He's working with a lot of things, he's working through a lot of things, and he's struggling. He's not a perfect guy. But when it comes to how he treats her and how they fall in love, he is perfect. He is very much the definition of man written by a woman, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. What I think my problem is, and why this is kind of coming to a head right now, is that I've just read too many of those. I've read so many new release romances that have come out this year where that's the exact thing the hero is. He is so perfect to the heroine. And I feel like this is a conversation that could be addressed to romance books as a whole. The polarity of sweet cinnamon roll heroes who are perfectly men written by women, or dark romance heroes who are completely unhinged and just off the deep end, right? And how they treat their women, like they're abusive. And those, I feel like that's what we're getting right now. In contemporary romance specifically, I feel like if you look at fantasy romance, you have a lot of complexity there, largely because of the fantasy plot element, which sort of creates another layer of tension and drama. And are they going to get together? Life and death circumstances, right? The stakes are high, typically. But also in historical romances, I feel like the historicals that I've read this year, like I just read the Julianne Long, the stakes were very high in that one. Like the stakes were high and they felt high. It really felt like as you were reading that, like how are they going to get together? How are they going to be able to be together? So that, and you know they're going to because it's a romance, right? So that when they get their happily ever after, it feels so satisfying because you had that moment of, how is this going to work out, you know? And I feel like I've read too many contemporary romances this year specifically, and I haven't read as many as I have in the past, but I'm talking about new releases. And that element is what seems to be lacking. And it's not entirely about the hero being perfect, although that is an element of it, because he is perfect, then the third act conflict is super quickly resolved, right? Because he's typically he thinks for a moment, maybe this isn't going to work out, or maybe I'm not going to want to be with her, or maybe, we can't do this, and then it's almost instantaneously fixed, he changes his mind, and that's it. And to me, that feels a bit too manufactured. That feels fake. It doesn't feel like I'm invested in it, right? And that's what happened here. So, while I'm talking about Savor It, it's a beautiful romance. And again, if you're looking for something that is just completely beautiful and well done, like, this is a great one. But it did feel like the final conflict and some area within the relationship, it just didn't feel like it had the stakes that I wanted it to, even though on paper it does, right? This is a fake relationship. He's going to be leaving. This can't be forever. The stakes are written into the plot, but it doesn't feel like that because when he interacts with her, when she interacts with him, it feels like they are working perfectly. There's nothing about them that isn't working, And I just can't help but thinking about the Julianne Long, The Beast Takes a Bride, which I think so perfectly encapsulates what I'm talking about right here, what I'm looking for, the complexity within the hero and the heroine, and is the relationship going to work out? A certain level of angst, but I don't think it's actually angst, I think it's stakes that are manifested in the book, in the work, So this is just something that I've been thinking about so much lately, where it's not that I want morally gray heroes, it's not that I don't want to read about perfect men, it's that the conflict that makes for the third act conflict, and I am not afraid to say that I'm a fan of third act breakups, because that provides stakes, that provides emotion, that provides me to feel like something's going to happen. If, always this caveat, if the author has set it up that way, right? A lot of times third act conflicts, they're just thrown in because there needs to be a conflict. Their third act breakups are thrown in because they need to break up so they can get back together again. And it can't be like that. It has to be integral to the plot, has to be integral to the characters. And that's where I feel like this one was lacking for me. Because even though we have the plot perfectly set up for there to be this level of he's leaving, this can't be love, this can't be forever, this is just friends with benefits, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that. And if you don't need that, or you're kind of like, that's low on your list of priorities, then this would probably be a perfect book for you. And I don't want at all to come across like I'm harping on it, because I'm not, because I really did enjoy this book for the most part. But that element of I have to keep reading, I have to find out what's happening, I have to find out how they're going to get together wasn't here at all. And this is also a problem that I think cozy fantasy has kind of perpetuated. Not that it shouldn't exist, but because cozy is kind of gaining a chokehold in all genres, you know, like I feel like it's manifesting as small town romances, but I've read a lot of small town romances that do have very high stakes. So it's not just that, but I think reader demand is kind of wanting that feeling, and that's good, that's great, but it does make me feel like I want the type of romances that like shake you to your soul but feel so fulfilling in the end that you know this couple is meant to be. Like a Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan, if you're new here, Kennedy Ryan is my all-time favorite author. I don't feel like there is a better romance author in the genre, period. She gets everything right perfectly. And she gets that balance right, you know? Like, her heroes aren't perfect. They're not men written by women. They're good men. They're so good to their women. But they're not like so perfect that then it just doesn't, like, where's the story? What's the point here, you know? Like, her heroes, they mess up, they do things wrong, sometimes they do big things wrong, but in the end it's all worth it because you have seen him, he has shown that, yeah, he messed up and he's gonna change and do better, and he does, right? And I know that there should be variety in romance novels. This romance novel should exist. It is a beautiful romance novel, and a lot of people love it, and I think that it's needed. But it is interesting, I'm just kind of reflecting upon my reading taste, my reading opinion right now, and this is a little bit outside of what I'm wanting, you know? So, really excellent. The element that made me want to keep reading wasn't quite here. It wasn't quite here for me. The romance just felt too easy. And I feel like I've just read too many romances where the relationship itself feels too easy. The characters are working on things in their own life, and while that does impact the relationship, it doesn't add the necessary stakes that make me feel like this might not work. How is this going to work, you know? And for me, that's part of the joy and pleasure of reading a romance novel, is feeling like this feels like an impossible situation, but I believe so deeply that these two are in love and that they're meant to be, but it also feels impossible. How is that author going to get me to believe? How are they going to solve this situation, right? That is an incredible talent. That is what makes a top-tier romance author, and I just have not read too many of those this year. I have not read too many, and the ones that I have read have been romantasy or historical romance and a few contemporary romance. The one that I'm thinking of the most that I read this year is Unsteady by Peyton Curran. That one was great. So yeah, I do feel a little disappointed in this book, but that's not for me to say I don't think it's a bad book at all. I just was looking for a different type of reading experience. I was hoping based on the plot summary and what the story was setting it up to be, I was hoping there would be some additional turmoil, conflict, and it just ended up being like resolved like that, you know? So that's a me problem, but I also feel like it's a genre problem currently. Anyways, I did not finish Metal Slinger. I know I said I was going to finish this week. I want to try and finish it tonight. I don't know if I can because I am 60-ish% of the way through on my Kindle. I'm on page 320. So I am still enjoying it. I do have a lot of thoughts on this that I feel like I don't want to get into right now because I want to see how it resolves first. So I may do just a review just on this book. I don't know. Let me know if you'd be interested in that, because sometimes I feel like I want to talk about a book I just read, and then when it comes to wrap-up time, I've forgotten what I wanted to say about it, or I'm talking about so many other books that I don't have like 10 minutes to talk about that one book. Like that just happened in my October wrap-up, and I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to talk about some of those books as long as I wanted to. So anyway, that's it for this reading vlog. I thank you all so much for being here. I sure appreciate you watching my videos, interacting with me in the comments, and this next week there will not be a vlog because I'm going to be vlogging for my patrons. It's our book club that I've set time aside to read our book club book. If you want to join my Patreon, I do have a 7-day free trial for the So Delicious tier if you want to do that. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. If you've made it this far, please feel free to leave me a green heart for the cover of Lost and Lassoed, and I'll see y'all in my next video.